Hey kids, welcome to another math video. This is for Module 4, Lesson 19. And the objective here today is to convert measures involving whole numbers and solve multi-step word problems. So, converting. We've done this before. Last time we were taking large units and changing them into smaller units. Now we're not changing the size of what we're measuring, we're just using a different tool to identify it, and so it's like it's the same length, but we're labeling it something else. So we're taking something and putting a new label on it. Well, if you put the new label and the label is a different size, you're going to have a different amount. So if we take 30 centimeters and we want to know how much that is in a larger unit, like meters. If you remember using tools earlier in the year, okay, centimeters are oftentimes on the opposite side of your ruler. So if you have a ruler and you know that a ruler has 12 inches and that makes 1 foot, you might be familiar with the fact that centimeters are on the other side, and you might see that 30 centimeters fit on a foot. But it's not an exact relationship. If you notice that here down at the end, the inches go a little bit further. And so we don't have a one-to-one connection or relationship. In fact, what we do have is we have other tools for metric measurements. So I have centimeters on my ruler because this is a common tool that you're going to use in the United States. But we use standard measure, which is inches, for most of the things that we talk about in the United States. Now the rest of the world uses the metric system. It's actually easier to convert everything in the metric system. This is my meter stick, and as you can see, it has all these centimeters on it. In fact, if you want to know how many centimeters are in a meter, you go right to the end and you have 100. Because remember, in the metric system, everything is wonderfully easy to convert because it's a 1-to-10 ratio. Every time you change place value positions in the metric system, it's just changing 1 to 10. So it's fun and easy. Now, I have a lot of little notes that I want you to think about and write down before we jump into today's lesson so that you will be well-rounded, really. So when we're changing from small units to larger units, what you may end up with is a fraction of the larger unit, especially if you have less than 1. So for example, I just showed you that 30 centimeters are on a ruler, but that is a tiny piece of the whole fraction of a meter. So when you take this, and we're going to use a formula again today, and the formula is pretty much the same as last time. We're going to copy the number that we already have, multiply it by 1 of the former unit, or the one that we're leaving. We're not going to have centimeters anymore. We're going to have meters in the new. So it's multiply by 1 of the old unit. Write this down. It's the formula you'll use. And then we're going to copy the number that we're multiplying. Here it's 30. And we're going to multiply it by the equivalent of the new. Now the equivalent of the new unit is, when going from small to large, is likely going to be a fraction. Now a fraction can be written in a decimal fraction or in a regular fraction. We're still really comfortable with using regular fractions, so we will likely use the numerators, denominators, as opposed to decimals. But now is the time when you can kind of start thinking both ways. As you see, if you have 30 as your whole, you're going to have 30 times 1 over 100. Then you have 30 hundredths. This can be simplified if you divide both the top and the bottom by 10. Remember, what you do to the top, you do to the bottom, or vice versa. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, because this is a ratio. You have to change the ratio at the same rate in order to keep the fraction at the same ratio from the top to the bottom. So also 3/10 as a fraction can be written as a decimal, 0.3 or 3/10 of a meter. So this is what we're going to be doing today. And again, another sample, smaller to larger, using standard measure. Let's take 9 inches. How many feet would that be? Well, 9 inches isn't even 1 foot. So we're going to take 9 times 1 of the old, using the old unit inches. And then what is an inch in feet? Well, it's a fraction of that because inches are smaller than feet. So your factor that you're coming up with is 1/12, and then you multiply by putting the 9 times 1 on the top over the 12. 9 times 1 over 12. Multiply. You get 9/12, which can then be simplified to 3/4. If you look at this little picture, you can see that the whole ruler would be 12 inches. That equals 1 foot. And so 9 inches would be 3/4 of that. Then I have one more sample on the back because we might also, don't peek at lesson 20. No, we might also have numbers that are mixed numbers or greater than 1. So if I have my small to large and I have 15 inches for my amount that I'm going to convert, this is actually greater than 1 foot. So when you multiply this by the 1 of the old and the equivalent of the new, you end up with an improper fraction. Now the improper fraction can be changed to a mixed number, so take out the 12/12, okay, that's your 1. Put your leftovers in the numerator over 12, and then see if you can simplify. Okay, and you can simplify here. You can divide both by 3 to get 1 1/4. Of course, I have something else that is also helpful from another notebook, and it's really just this graphic here. Back when I taught 3rd grade instead of 5th, because I taught 3rd grade for 9 years, we used to make gallon man or gallon woman or gallon person or gallon robot, whatever you want to say. But it was creating this body, and then the parts would come away from it. And so what it is designed to do is help kids realize that when you have 1 cup, it is doubled in a pint. The P is for pint. And then the pints are doubled for the quart. And so when you see the C, that represents 1 cup. So there are 2 cups in a pint, but 4 cups in a quart. But there are 2 pints in a quart. See? Right here, pint, pint. Now you get into, and again, this is standard in the United States. In the rest of the world, they use the metric system, so they have liters versus milliliters. Everything is in a liter bottle. But in the United States, you're going to see gallons. So how much is a gallon of milk or a gallon of soda or a gallon of something? Well, it's 4 quarts, and in each quart you have 4 cups. So, of course, it's going to be 16 cups total in a gallon. So we have all these different things we can do with our notes and with this picture. Also, in your book, as if that wasn't enough, there is a reference page that you should have flagged. It's page 167, and it has some of the conversions that you're going to need to do your work today. So anyway, let's hop into the book. That's enough with the notes, my goodness. Page 237 is what I have, and this is lesson 19 problem set. Okay, we're going to convert and express your answer as a mixed number if possible. That means don't leave it in an improper fraction. And the first one's done for you, so very kindly, they are showing you that the conversion is happening here. This is the times 1 of the old unit. And this is going to be times the equivalent, I'm not going to write that whole thing, of new. Okay? This is where 1 foot, okay, in the new unit is only 1/3 of a yard. 1 foot is 1/3 of a yard. And then we're going to set it up in the fraction. What they don't actually have here for you is the writing it out with that, what I have been calling a useless step or a redundant step. Okay, and so they're going to go ahead and just go 2 times 1 is 2, and they're giving you the answer and putting the denominator down, and then label it with your new unit label. Okay, so now you even have more notes in your book, and so you should be totally ready to go. So here we go. They've given us a little help. Remember to copy, and then copy down. And then this is times 1 of the old unit. Notice the label, foot. And so what is a foot out of a yard? And you might have to use your page 167, but it's 1 out of 3 because there are 3 feet in a yard. So we're going to have a fractional unit because 1 foot is only 1 piece out of 3 to make the full yard. So again, this is what you don't see. Now solve. 4 times 1 is 4 over 3. Don't leave this as an improper fraction. This would be 3/3 plus 1/3, so it's 1 1/3, or 3 fits into 4 one whole time with 1 left over. Don't forget your new label. And that is that. Let's do C. So 7 inches, now we have nothing written for us, but don't be afraid. It's going to be 7 times 1 inch. You're taking this whole thing and you're splitting it up and putting the old label, one of the old. Now copy the 7 and multiply. What is 1 inch out of, or when compared to, feet? Well, it's 1 out of 12. A lot of kids are really not familiar with this. I feel like they were all out of school in 4th grade and now nobody knows what a ruler has. And so a ruler has 12 inches on it. So 1 inch is 1/12 of a foot. It's like an epidemic of nobody knows what their measurements are. Oops, and then I wrote it all out and I didn't need to. 7/12 foot is our final answer. Okay, so 7 inches is 7/12 of a foot. True story. Let's do another one. 13 inches is 13 times 1 inch, 1 of the old. 13 times, how about what is 1 inch out of a foot? That's right. It is 1/12 of a foot. Same approach. They're trying to get you on your feet here, understanding that inches have 12 to a foot. Okay, now I'm not going to copy it like I did last time. I'm going to do 13 times 1 is 13 over 12. Don't forget your label. Don't leave it in an improper fraction where the top is bigger. Straighten it out so that we know it's 1 and 1/12. If you forgot how to convert these, remember, this is a division problem. It's 13 divided by 12, which is 1 and 1 left over. There's your label. And there's your final answer circled. Okay. All right, 5 ounces, 5 times 1 ounce. Next line, 5 times, okay, you might need your conversion sheet here. How many ounces are in a pound? Okay, so this is going to be 16. So what's 1 ounce? It's 1/16 of a pound. Okay, and I'm sorry that it's LB for pound. I'm not in charge of that. That's just what it is, so you just have to write it. 5 times 1 is 5 over 16. Put your label, and that is your final answer. Okay, if it was improper, we'd have another step, but this is a proper fraction, and it can't be simplified, so we're going to move on. 18 times 1 ounce, 1 of the old. 18 times the equivalent of the new. So what is 1 ounce when compared to pounds? It's 1/16 of a pound. So your fraction is 1/16. Multiply 18 times 1 and get 18 over 16. Don't forget your new label. And notice that this is improper. This is proper. This is improper. It's bigger on top. Straighten it out. So 16 can go fit into 18 one whole time with 2 left over out of 16. Okay? And then we don't want to leave a fraction that has both even numbers, so because that's not simplest form. So I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 2 because they're both even. Don't forget your whole number. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And that has our new label, and that's your final answer, 1 1/8 pound. Okay, so when you apply the formula from our notes, it really makes everything so much easier. All right, let's do the word problems now. Regina buys 24 inches of trim for a craft project. What fraction of a yard does Regina buy? So we have this many inches, okay? And again, you have to have page 167 handy in case you forgot. But what fraction of a yard? So we're converting inches to yards. Don't know, so set it up so that you can do your formula. Do the formula. Take your 24 times 1 of the old, 24 times the equivalent of the new. So how many inches are in a yard? This is where you're going to do the the converting. So 1 inch is pretty small when you're talking about yards. If you're thinking about a foot, I'm saying no, it's not feet. There are 12 inches in a foot, but this is yards. There are 3 feet in a yard. So how many inches are in a yard? It's 36, because it's 12, 12, 12. So if I look at inches compared to yards, 1/36 of a yard is your factor here. Okay? But don't be afraid of that. You can do that. 24 times 1, 24 over 36. Nothing to multiply there. You just bring it down. Now I have a fraction that hopefully when you look at it, you're thinking, ooh, I could simplify that. And I would say, yes, actually, you have several things that you could do to divide. The biggest number is really what we're interested in, the greatest common factor out of 24 and 36. Okay, we want this. Are there other factors? Yes. What numbers can you multiply to get 24 and 36? Well, I can multiply 2. 2 times what? Well, if I have 2 times 12, I would get 24. Okay, and that's really big. You know, so students will look at this and go, oh, that's more than I can fit. So what about 4? 4 times 6 is 24. How about 8? 8 times 3 is 24. And so you start to think about, what are the factors that can multiply and get this, but also get this? So then you start thinking, well, I can't. Does 8 fit into 36? No, so we can't use 8 for both. So anyway, the process of elimination, it kind of starts with knowing your factors. But really, what I want you to know is that 12 is your greatest common factor. And if you get the greatest number that divides evenly into both, you can simplify in one step. 24 divided by 12 is 2, and 36 divided by 12 is 3. And so your simplified answer is 2/3 yard. What fraction of a yard does Regina buys? Regina buys 2/3 of a yard. And so that's the simplest form. Like, can you sit there and do 24/36 and divide by 2? Yes, but it's going to take you a while. You could divide by 4, but it's going to take you a while. If you find the greatest common factor, you can do it in one step. All right, let's move on. If a whole yard of trim costs $6, how much did Regina pay? She only bought 2/3 of a yard. Let's look at this in terms of a tape diagram. 1 yard costs $6. She buys 2 out of 3 pieces, 2/3. Okay, she buys this. So if 3 units make $6, then 1 unit would be 6 divided by 3. So 1 unit equals $2. Now you can probably see that for yourself here. And so how much did she pay? Regina pays $4 for the trim. Okay, so if you make a little picture when you can kind of see the different pieces and how they go together. All right, let's move on. Number 3, at Yo-Yo Yogurt. The scale says that Sarah has 8 ounces of vanilla yogurt in her cup. Her father's yogurt weighs 11 ounces. How many pounds of frozen yogurt did they buy all together? Express your answer as a mixed number. Several things to do here. First of all, Sarah and her dad have yogurt. We have 8 ounces and we have 11 ounces. And since we're combining unlike terms, just line them up and add 19 ounces together. Okay, and then we have to convert the 19 ounces into pounds. Mystery LB. Use the formula. 19 times 1 ounce. Use the formula. 19 times, how many pounds is 1 ounce? Well, it's 1/16 of a pound. And again, this is just, you just kind of have to memorize it. Okay, pounds and ounces are 16 ounces in a pound. Okay, and then inches and feet, and that's like 1 to 12. It's very confusing. 19 times 1 is 19 over 16. That's your new label, but this is improper. Show your answer as a mixed number. 16 fits into 19 one whole time with 17, 18, 19. There it is. 3 left out of 16. If it was 15, we could simplify, but we can't. So you just look for your label. How many pounds of frozen yogurt? 1 3/16 pounds of fro-yo. And that's your answer there. Okay, and here we are. Oh, by the way, click subscribe, come back. We have all the Eureka math. We, who's we? Me, myself, and I sitting here by myself. Anyway, I have all this Eureka math. Come back and do more math with me. Feng Zhu drinks 1 cup of milk every day for lunch. How many gallons of milk does he drink in 2 weeks? So 1 cup of milk every day for lunch. It's so important. You guys should be drinking your milk. On last year's video, I was showing my wrist. It was all like heck bruised because I fell down because my dog tripped me, and I love my puppy, but he was a little too aggressive and he was trying to bark at somebody. Anyway, I fell down and ouch, but I didn't break anything because I drink milk. I used to drink milk. Actually, I drink lactose-free milk now. But anyway, enough about me. Let's solve this problem. 1 cup of milk every day for lunch. So how many gallons in 2 weeks? Well, 1 cup of milk times the 14 days would be 14 cups of milk. So we're going to take our 14 cups and say how many gallons that is. So use your formula and convert. 14 times 1 cup. And then remember that picture that I showed you with all those little cups in that big gallon body? Okay, and you should hopefully remember it's 16. So 1 cup is 1/16 of a gallon. And then we're going to multiply 14 times 1 and get 14 over 16. And that's your, again, new label, but not simplest form. These are both even. 14 and 16 can both be divided by 2. Okay, if this is your simplifying maneuver, 14 divided by 2 is 7, 16 divided by 2 is 8, and that is your final answer. He drinks. Feng Zhu drinks 7/8 gallon in 2 weeks. Yay, and we're done. See, that wasn't that bad. Use your formula and you will do fine. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.